Welcome back to episode 8 of MLB All Around. Today we're going to be doing the same thing we always do, looking at the standings as of right now and then the playoff picture and making our playoff predictions if the season were to end today. Real quick before we get started, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you are new. Turn on the noties to make sure you don't miss whenever we upload a video. This week we've done our college football week 4 top 25 rankings. We did our week 3 NFL game predictions yesterday, so make sure you go check those videos out. Not only do we do football, we do college basketball and NBA as well, so content will soon be coming for those types of videos because those seasons are coming up on the horizon, so it's a great time to be on the channel. Make sure you subscribe if you are new. Links in the description real quick. As always, X, Twitch, TikTok, Discord. Make sure you follow those, join those. With all that being said, though, let's get into the standings. Starting off in the American League real quick, just a simple explanation. If you see a yellow glowing background, that means they have clinched a playoff berth. If you see a red glowing background, that means they are eliminated from playoff contention. And if you don't see a green one right now, but if you did see a green one, that would mean they clinched their division. But getting into the AL East, the Yankees have actually separated themselves a little bit. It's for the past couple episodes, it's kind of been, the Orioles and the Yankees have been tied. They're 4 games ahead now. And I honestly would expect the Yankees to win this division. They've separated themselves a little bit. I don't really know if the Orioles have a chance to get back into this race. They're 3-7 in their last 10. They've really slowed down. When looking at the rest of this division, the Red Sox are the definition of average, 76 and 76. The craziest thing about this is to me is their run differential is exactly 0, so they are the definition of average. No other team in the league has that. The only team really even close is the Reds with +5, but besides that, the next closest team would be the Giants with -19, the Cardinals with -56. So that's pretty cool, I guess, to look at. Yeah, the Red Sox, though, probably not going to be making the playoffs. They're about 3.5 games back of the Twins right now, so there's definitely still a chance. But with the Rays and the Blue Jays, they've been sitting at the bottom of this division for the majority of the season, and I don't really think there's any shot for them to get into the playoff discussion. When looking at the AL Central, the Guardians have really started to separate themselves ahead of the Royals and the Twins. They're 6.5 games ahead, and I do expect them to clinch the division here coming soon. They've been at the top of this division all year. They're definitely the best team in this division. Them clinching the division will happen here shortly. When looking at the Royals and Twins, though, I definitely do believe both these teams are playoff teams. But the Tigers, man, they're right there with the Twins. They've been playing really good as of recently. They're making a final, little playoff push. They're 8-2 in their last 10. They're on a 4-game win streak. The Royals on a 4-game losing streak, 4-6 in their last 10, same as the Twins. So yeah, the Twins definitely could still jump the Royals. I wouldn't be surprised if they do. But the Tigers making things interesting. The White Sox, they're at the bottom. They're the worst team in the league, maybe the worst team in MLB history. In the AL West, the Astros 4.5 games ahead, and I do expect them to also win this division. I think they've kind of they've been sitting at the top here for a couple months now. The Mariners were at the top for a good portion of the early season, but the Astros have been leading this division for at least the past 6 or 7 episodes of this. But the Mariners definitely still have a real chance to get in the wild card. They're only only 2 games back of the Twins and Tigers. The Twins and Tigers are currently tied. So they could definitely still get in, but their offense is, I don't know if it's good enough. The pitching is very good, but like I said, the offense is it's just not good enough. I really don't know if they are a playoff team, which sucks because in the preseason I had them making it all the way to the ALCS. It was very high on the Mariners. Yeah, they can still make the playoffs, though. The Rangers, the defending World Series champs, looking like they're not going to be making the playoffs. They're 7 games under 500, and them being eliminated from the playoffs here is probably going to be happening in the next week or so. When looking at the A's and the Angels, both these teams are already eliminated, so not much to get excited about. At least the A's aren't last in the division again, so that's good. A lot of people thought they'd be the worst team in the league this year. The Angels are they're ahead of the Angels, so they're not last in the division, and obviously you got teams like the White Sox here. Moving on over to the National League, though, the Phillies with a 7-game lead over the Mets, and I would expect them to clinch this division here within the next coming days. Um, they're right there. I mean, they gotta to win a couple more games, and they will have clinched the division. But as of right now, they're definitely going to be a playoff team. Definitely, probably going to be a top two seed unless they, the Brewers are right there, so they could definitely make some madness happen. The Mets sitting at 1.5 games ahead of the Braves right now for that final wild card spot. The Braves definitely still in contention. I'm not saying they're not. I mean, the NL is really the only. There's only 4 teams, I guess you could say, in the wild card race, but the Padres have kind of started to separate themselves a little bit. But the Braves definitely can still get in. They're only 1.5 games back. They're still about 10 games left in the season. Really, is that? Yeah, I guess so. 10 games left in the season. So, um, the Braves definitely still have a chance here. But the Nationals and the Marlins have been eliminated for a while. The Nationals have been eliminated from the playoffs officially. Looking at the NL Central, we've got the Brewers clinch this division. It's probably the worst division in baseball. It's pretty mediocre besides the Brewers. But yeah, the Cardinals and the Cubs sitting at second and third. I would expect them to also get eliminated from the playoffs. Unfortunately, here soon. They're 7 games back of the Mets right now. It's not looking like they have a real chance here with only about 10 games left in the season. The Reds and the Pirates have been eliminated, and I do expect the Cubs and the Cardinals to be in the coming days. The Dodgers here, sitting at 90 and 62, 3.5 games ahead of the Padres. The Padres could, I guess, still win this division, but I would expect the Dodgers to win. With all things considered, Shohei Ohtani just became the first 50-50 player in MLB history. That is 50 home runs and 50 stolen bases, so that's pretty cool. He's definitely the best player in the league, in my opinion. But yeah, the Padres have kind of separated themselves in the NL wild card race. They're 2.5 games back up of the Diamondbacks and the Mets, and 4 games up on the Braves. So I think the Padres are safe. Technically not safely yet, but they're safely, they have a comfortable lead right now, but definitely nothing is guaranteed for them. The Diamondbacks only a game and a half up on the Braves. They definitely still need to be doing some winning. The Giants, though, have been eliminated officially, and the Rockies have been eliminated for a while now. With all that being said, though, let's take a look at the playoff predictions based on the season, based on the standings. If the season were to end today, looking at our first matchup in the AL wildcard game, it's going to be the 3-seeded Houston Astros taking on the 6-seeded Twins. We've seen this matchup here for quite a while. This is kind of similar to the last video's seeding. There is a small difference in the NL side of things with the Phillies and Dodgers being switched, because the Dodgers were actually the 1 seed last time we did this. The Phillies have been the 1 seed though for the majority of the season. But I have a feeling it's going to be a lot of the same predictions in this game. In this series, I'm going to take the Astros. I just think overall, pitching wise, maybe really coaching wise and experience wise, I just trust the Astros a little bit more than I do the Twins. So I'm going to go ahead and take them, but I do think it goes all 3 games. When looking at this game, this is 2 very fun young teams. I think this would be a very fun wild card series. But ultimately here, the team that I believe is clearly better is the Baltimore Orioles. I think they win in 2 games. I think one of the games could, I guess, be close, but when looking at this, the Royals, very young team. The Orioles are too, but I trust them a little bit more. They made the playoffs last year. They did lose in the first round. But I think pitching-wise, hitting-wise, they're just better overall in all categories than the Royals. When looking at the National League, this is a series that I was actually pretty back and forth on. I'm kind of split here. The Mets have been playing really good as of recently. I'm honestly surprised. I didn't expect the Mets to be a playoff team this year. But here we are, sitting with about 10 games left in the season. They're sitting at the 6th seed right now. Now, obviously, nothing is guaranteed. Like I said, the Braves still right on their tail. But the Mets have a little bit of space between the two, so obviously it's a small, margin of error, but there is still a room for error at least a little bit. So that makes you feel good if you're a Mets fan. And Francisco Lindor is having a heck of a season for them. With all that being said, though, I do think the Brewers would win this series. I just think offensively they can score enough to get this one done. This is a weird Brewers year where it's not necessarily relying on pitching and defense. It's actually a pretty good offensive team, which is weird for the Brewers. You usually don't see that for them. They actually have one of the best and most high scoring offenses in the league. I'm looking at it right here, and they're actually the fourth overall highest scoring offense. Sorry, the fifth overall highest scoring offense in the league, but still top five. The Mets are pretty close, but I do think the Brewers get it done. I will say in 3 games, though. I think it goes all three. This series is very tough. This is going to be tough. I do expect this to be the matchup. The Padres going to take on the Diamondbacks. Now, this is an NL West battle where I do believe it can go either way. Clearly, the difference I mean, maybe not clearly, because I definitely do think this goes all 3 games. I think the difference maker, though, is the defense and the pitching. I think the Padres have by far better pitching than the Diamondbacks. I know the Diamondbacks offense is the best in the league, at least the most high scoring by quite a while, actually. They have 835 total runs scored this season compared to second place being the Dodgers at 788. So a whole almost 50 runs of a difference, which is kind of insane. But like I said, pitching and defense becomes way more important in the playoffs. I do think the Padres have better pitching and defense than the Diamondbacks, and I think their offense is capable enough to score with the Diamondbacks if need be. They have the players to do so, so I'm going to take the Padres. I will say, though, this will go all 3 games. But looking at our next matchup here in the ALDS, Astros going to Cleveland to take on the Guardians. And we've seen this matchup time and time again. I'm going to stick with my same pick. I'm going to take the Guardians. Now, there has been instances in the past where I've taken the Astros, but recently I've kind of switched my opinion on this. I do think the Guardians are overall the better team. They have some great hitters, Jose Ramirez, Stephen Kwan, guys like that who have really stepped up this year and honestly surprised me with the way some of these guys are playing. I mean, Andres Jimenez is having a great season. Same with their first baseman. I'm blanking on the name. Josh Naylor, he's had a really good season. David Fry as well at catcher. So they've had a whole lot of guys step up, and pitching wise, they have one of the best bullpens in the MLB, led by Emmanuel Clase. So they're definitely a very dangerous team in the playoffs. I do think they get it done over the Astros. I'll say in 5 because the Astros just are always going to be good in the playoffs because of coaching, because of experience, but I do think the Guardians will win. This series, we've seen this a lot too, and I do believe we will end up getting this. The Orioles taking on the Yankees. Now, this one's interesting because typically the Orioles will be at the 1 seed and the Yankees will be at the 4 seed, so the Orioles will have the home field advantage. It's a little bit different this time, which does make this a little bit of a harder pick because typically I go Orioles here, but the fact that it's in Yankee Stadium makes me think about this a whole lot more. Ultimately, though, I'm going to still take the Orioles. The Orioles were my preseason pick to make the World Series, and I'm not saying that's the reason why, but that is, I believe the Orioles are one of the best teams in the league. I think overall they're pretty even with the Yankees, but the Yankees do this a lot. I mean, they'll win a whole bunch of games regular season. Once it comes to playoff time, they just can't get it done. And the Orioles are a young team, so that does make me nervous to pick them to go on a huge run. But they played in a playoff series last year. They did lose um, earlier than some people thought. But I do think overall they're one of the most well-rounded teams when it comes to hitting wise. You know, they got guys Adley Rushman, um, Gunnar Henderson. Um, you know, they're a loaded team. I mean, you go down the list: Jordan Westberg, um, Ramon Urias, Ryan Mountcastle, Cedric Mullins, Jorge Mateo. I mean, they're just Anthony Santander. I didn't even say him. He has almost 40. He has 42 home runs. Yeah, they're a loaded team. And pitching wise, Corbin Burns. I mean, they're just overall. I think they have the better pitching here as well, which I think helps them in the long run. They also have a very good defense, so I think that comes into play here. I think they get it done in 5 games over the Yankees. 2 5-game series here to start out. Looking at the National League, the Brewers taking on the Dodgers, and as much as I would like to say the Brewers win this series, I think the Dodgers do win. It's hard for me to trust the Dodgers in the playoffs because they're kind of similar to the Yankees where they do this every year. But I do think this year, I think they have enough to beat the Brewers. I just think pitching wise, they're better, and hitting wise, I do believe they are better. And you know, hitting is the Brewers' strength here. So I think the Dodgers win this one in 4. I think this is kind of, you know, just matchup wise, it doesn't favor the Brewers here. I think the Dodgers are better on both sides. This matchup, if this was Padres Dodgers, we saw that matchup last week. I would probably take the Padres. The fact, though, that it is the Phillies, and the Phillies are a team that I'm extremely high on this year. They have one of the best starting rotations in baseball, one of the best bullpens in baseball, and one of the best lineups in baseball. The Padres do have the lineup, and they do have, you know, pitchers like Dylan Cease who are just, you know, playing out of their minds, but I don't think they have the depth to the same degree as the Phillies do. I think the Phillies do get the series win. I will say, I think it goes, I'll say 4 games. I don't think it goes all 5, but I do think most of the games would be close. Looking at the ALCS for, you know, who's going to punch their ticket to the World Series, the Guardians or the Orioles. Again, I guess this is a little boring. I'm going to stick with my same pick that I've been taking for a while now. I'm going to take the Orioles. I said this last year. I think this year is the year, you know, I said last year, wait, give them another year. They're still very young, so I didn't pick them to go super far last year. This year, though, I think it's the year. Maybe not necessarily that they win the World Series, but I do think they'll make a run this year with the fact they'll have some playoff experience. Gunnar Henderson and Adley Rushman are 2 MVP candidates, and they just brought in Corbin Burns to really just, you know, finish out that rotation. They're one of the best teams, most complete, well-rounded, arguably the most well-rounded team. I wouldn't say the most, but you could argue. I do think overall they're the better team than the Guardians. I do think the Yankees are also better than the Guardians. I think that Yankees series probably is harder for them, so I'll say the Orioles win in 6. I don't think it goes all 7. I do think the Orioles win, though. And then looking at the NLCS, a 1 versus 2 matchup here, the Dodgers taking on the Phillies. The Phillies crowd in October is just something special. We saw it 2 years ago when the Phillies, as a 6 seed, made a run. I think they were a 6 seed all the way to the World Series. They ended up losing, but they got hot. I've said this in years past. The Phillies are a team built for the playoffs, and the fact that they have 90 wins here at this point in the season and first in their division in the regular season, it's pretty. It's got to mean something, you know. I mean, they've always had the hitters to do it, but this year the pitching has just really came around. I mean, Aaron Nola, Zach Wheeler, Ranger Suarez, they probably have the best pitching rotation in all of baseball, and their bullpen is elite as well. Along with their star-studded lineup that they've had in years past, I feel like it's all coming together for the Phillies this year. The Dodgers, as much as they also have an all-star lineup, I do think I trust the Phillies a little bit more to get this done. They also get the home field advantage, which is crucial here. I'm going to take the Phillies in 6 over the Dodgers to set up a World Series matchup that I've been predicting for a while now. I do ultimately think these are the two best teams in baseball. The team that I think is the best, though, and the team I think will win the World Series this year, I think it's the Phillies' year. I really do. The Orioles, I know I just said, last year I said give them another year. Now it's this year, but I don't know if they're ready to be World Series champions quite yet. Again, still a very young team, so I don't know if I feel comfortable taking them to win it all, but I do think they'll make a run and definitely be able to win a series or two. I have them winning 3 series, I guess. Um, but yeah, the Phillies, I mean, the Orioles still have a great future. I could definitely see the Orioles doing this and then winning next year. The Orioles may be my favorite to win next year, in all honesty. But this year, I feel like it's just all coming together for the Phillies. They finally win the division instead of the Braves winning. They have arguably the best home field advantage in the playoffs in all of baseball. Probably the best. I don't know if that's even arguable. Like I said, probably the best pitching rotation in baseball. An elite bullpen and an elite lineup. They've always had the hitters. It's all coming together this year for the Phillies. I think it's their year. I think they become World Series champions. But let me know in the comments what you like, what you dislike about my playoff predictions. Give me your opinions. Love to debate in the comments. With all that being said, though, I hope you guys enjoyed. If you're new around here, subscribe. Like I said, turn on the noties to make sure you don't miss whenever we upload college football, NFL, NBA, and college basketball. If any of that interests you, make sure you subscribe and like this video. If you enjoyed, links in the description, X, Twitch, TikTok, Discord. Make sure you follow those, join those. With all that being said, though, hope you guys enjoyed. And yeah, thank you for watching.